I never thought that moving halfway across the world would make me feel so invisible, so utterly powerless, but here I am, staring at a foreign city I thought would give me freedom, only to realize that freedom has a strange way of catching up with your past. My name's Alex, I'm 37, and a month ago, my life was completely different. I was still in my hometown, trying to salvage a marriage that was already cracking under the weight of lies, betrayal, and silent resentments. Then came the divorce. It wasn't messy, not in the traditional sense, but it was final, cold, and the kind of heartbreak that doesn't fade even when the papers are signed and stamped. I thought leaving would make things easier. I thought leaving would erase the sting of seeing the woman I loved, or thought I loved, walk away. I booked a one-way flight, packed my life into 2 suitcases, and landed in a city where nobody knew my name. I had imagined this as a fresh start. New streets, new people, and most importantly, a new chance to breathe without the constant weight of our arguments pressing down on me. But fate, as I've learned, has a cruel sense of timing. It was my neighbor, an older woman named Claire, who first mentioned it. I had run into her on the way back from the grocery store. She waved a little awkwardly, smiling in that peculiar way strangers sometimes do when they know something you don't. "Alex, you probably haven't heard, your ex, she's married now. To him. Her lover." The words hit me harder than I expected. Married. Immediately. She didn't even wait a month. She didn't mourn, she didn't hesitate, she didn't pause to reflect on what we had, or what we lost. She moved on in the flash of a heartbeat, a blink, a permanent erase of the past. And worse, the wedding had happened yesterday. I felt like I had been punched in the chest. Every rational thought, every logical argument I tried to make to myself, it's her choice. You're better off. You have a new life, crumbled under the weight of images that formed unbidden in my mind. I pictured her in a white dress, smiling at him, the man she had kept secret while we were still married. I pictured the guests, the music, the vows. I pictured her laughing in a way she hadn't laughed at me in years. And the worst part? I wasn't invited. No word. No message. No acknowledgement that we had shared years of our lives, that we had built routines, habits, even dreams together. Nothing. She had moved on, leaving me with the echo of a life I could no longer touch. I spent the night tossing in my tiny apartment, staring out at the city lights, the hum of a world that felt completely indifferent to my pain. I kept replaying the memory of the last time I saw her, during the divorce proceedings. She had been calm, almost eerily composed, a mask of certainty over the subtle cruelty of her words. "I want a clean break," she had said. Those were her exact words. I had nodded, trying to be strong, trying to pretend that I understood. Pretending, as it turns out, is easy when the other person has already decided their future. The next morning, curiosity, mixed with the sharp edge of unresolved anger, led me to check social media. And there it was, photos. The ceremony. The kisses. The rings. Her in the sunlight, glowing, laughing, as if she had always been meant to be there. And him. The man I had never met before but had heard whispers of, the one who had taken her heart in secret while I was still paying mortgage bills and keeping promises. Scrolling down, I saw the comments. Congratulatory, naive, oblivious to the pain this caused me. Friends of hers, friends of his, all praising the perfect couple without knowing, without caring, that the man she left behind was crumbling somewhere across the world, grappling with the sudden erasure of his history, his home, and his trust. I couldn't understand it. Not fully. I wanted to scream at the screen, at her, at the universe. I wanted to tell her, "Do you realize what you just erased?" But of course it would have made no difference. The fact that she had moved on immediately told me everything I needed to know. She had been ready for this all along. She hadn't hesitated, hadn't mourned, hadn't cared. By evening, I found myself wandering the streets, passing cafes, neon signs, and crowded sidewalks, feeling more alone than I had ever felt in my life. My phone sat in my pocket, silent. No messages from old friends, no sign of contact from her. It was as if she had taken not only her own life forward but also every memory of us that I had thought was permanent. And yet, amid the anger and the hurt, there was something else. Something that felt like a faint, stubborn ember of relief. I realized I didn't have to fight her anymore. I didn't have to argue over dinners, vacations, or insults disguised as jokes. I didn't have to be second-guessed in my own home, or feel like I was always chasing the approval of someone who had already chosen someone else. But the relief was complicated because it came hand in hand with grief. Grief not just for the marriage but for the version of myself that I had invested in her, that had been tethered to a life I could no longer claim. And the deeper I walked into the city, the more I understood that starting over wasn't just about geography, it was about rebuilding a version of me that could exist independently, Without her, without the ghosts of promises that were never meant to last,